you give us a brief history or a brief background, if you could, as to why, leading up to your running for this position, this seat?
Sure. So I became more active in politics when I was a teacher, or actually after I quit teaching. So with my educational background, I started asking a lot of questions about why we were doing things that didn't make any sense, that were counter to what I had learned about pedagogy and teaching. And I found that there was a lot of dark money going into politics. So I went down that rabbit hole and I started becoming more curious about what was going on in our government and more involved. And I eventually ended up becoming more active, running for city council.
And then that obviously leading to why you're running for...
Oh, sure, yeah. So the dark money is really, really a motivation for me. I feel like most people are disenfranchised because politicians have been working for their donors, and most people don't have enough money to have their issues heard.
What do you feel are the most important issues in terms of your platform? What do you feel are the most important issues for the 25th Senatorial District here?
The most important issues for our area, there are 8 counties. They are all rural, so all rural issues are important. We have never seen the kind of bounce from the recovery, the economic recovery, even from the dot-com era, not from 9/11, and not from the 2008 bailout. We have problems with affordable and accessible health care. We have problems with access to education. We definitely have problems with economic recovery in every one of these downturns of the economy. Our tax base is shrinking and aging, and we have big box stores coming in and replacing mom and pop shops, but other small businesses as well. We don't have a fair tax base, or we don't have fair taxing in Pennsylvania to address those issues. So healthcare, broadband communications, cellular access, it's all sort of tied together. Even farming supply chains are a problem, and it's all tied into the same problem with the fair tax base and the big box stores and small businesses being squeezed out.
Key question for you that's relevant in terms of current news. How do you view balancing the need to keep people safe during this pandemic, even though we're in the green phase in basically all, if not most, of the 25th district here, the need to keep people safe versus the need to go green and get businesses back on track economically? How do you view that balance, and do you tip one way or the other? Do you have a take on safety versus business, impact and success?
Absolutely, and again, I am very concerned about small businesses. However, I have been following very closely what the experts say about this pandemic, and it is a global pandemic. We feel a little bit insulated here because it hasn't reached us at the level that it has the cities. I don't like that false sense of security that some people are getting. I think if everybody actually did their part and, did the social distancing, wearing masks, not gathering in large groups, that we could get back to normal for most small businesses. I think restaurants are going to have a harder time.
What distinguishes, I know this is slightly different since you're the only Democrat candidate on the ticket, so you already are propelled ahead to the general election by default, but still, what distinguishes you from, say, the other 3 candidates vying for the 25th seat?
What distinguishes me? Well, I believe in science. I believe in referring to the experts, not one expert who will say what you want them to say. I believe in the fourth estate, and there are a lot of things that just aren't happening in politics right now that give any respect for some of the establishments that we have that are there to protect us. I believe in 3 co-equal branches of government, and most of all, I believe in not accepting money to serve corporations.
Why should folks, not only in the primary obviously, but in the general election, why should they cast their ballot for Margie Brown in this election?
I used to be a journalist, and I was nonpartisan as a journalist. And then I went to work as a teacher, and I did register with the Republican Party, and that's where I have been most of my life. And I understand both sides of the aisle. I understand that everybody is basically the same and that we all want the same things. And I have been in the public service for most of my life. I actually consider journalism a public service. Teaching, I feel, is a public service. Granted, we get paid for these things, but I've also been a volunteer and an unpaid student advisor. And now I serve on city council, and we do get a small amount for that as well, but that's not a motivation. And I've always volunteered. I've served on many boards, put together many fundraisers. So that's one thing that I think that I'm interested in serving the public, and I don't think that politicians are always interested in serving the public.